Emily's fist crashed through the glass of her kitchen window as she read the first line of the letter. Blood dripped from her knuckles onto the envelope that had just arrived, mixing with tears she didn't remember starting to cry. The handwriting was unmistakable. Her sister Ashley's looping cursive, the same handwriting from the suicide note the police had found in 1987, 2 years after Ashley vanished. Except Ashley hadn't written that note. Emily had always known it was forged. And now, 39 years later, holding a letter postmarked 3 days ago, she had proof her sister was alive. "I'm sorry I let you believe I was gone," the letter began. "But what happened that night at the Halloween party? You need to know the truth. If you've ever wondered what really happens when someone vanishes without a trace, subscribe now because this story will change everything you thought you knew about missing persons cases." The story begins on October 31st, 1985, in the small town of Millbrook, Pennsylvania. 16-year-old Emily had insisted on chaperoning her 14-year-old sister Ashley to the Halloween party at the Henderson mansion. Their last words before leaving home were angry ones. Ashley had screamed that Emily was suffocating her, that she wished she could just disappear. The Henderson mansion stood on the hill overlooking Millbrook like something from a Gothic novel. That night, it was transformed into a teenage Halloween paradise. Strobe lights flashed through fog machines. Thriller blasted so loud the windows rattled. Teenagers in elaborate costumes filled every room, their faces painted and masked, making everyone anonymous in the chaos. Emily wore a simple witch costume, but she'd lost sight of Ashley within 20 minutes. Her sister had worn a Red Riding Hood costume, the cape flowing as she disappeared into the crowd. Emily spotted Mark Thompson near the Punch Bowl. 17, popular, dangerous. Emily had warned Ashley to stay away from him, but what Emily didn't know was that Mark and Ashley had been secretly dating for 3 months. At 11:47 p.m., a girl dressed as Little Red Riding Hood was seen heading toward the mansion's old wine cellar with someone tall, wearing dark clothing. That was the last confirmed sighting of Ashley. At midnight, when Emily still couldn't find her sister, someone called the police. Detective Morrison interviewed everyone. When they brought Mark in for questioning, Emily noticed something the detective didn't. Mark's costume was torn at the shoulder. There were fresh scratch marks on his neck, angry and red. When asked if he'd seen Ashley, Mark looked Emily dead in the eye and said, "I never saw her at the party at all." Emily knew he was lying. The police searched everywhere. Nothing. No trace of Ashley anywhere. The police theory quickly formed. Ashley had run away. She'd talked about it before. Troubled teen, they whispered. But Emily knew her sister wouldn't just leave. Not without her favorite necklace, still in their shared jewelry box. Not without the money she'd been saving, still hidden in their copy of The Outsiders. 3 weeks after the disappearance, while cleaning their room, Emily found something that changed everything. Behind Ashley's loose baseboard was Ashley's diary. Emily's hands shook as she read. Page after page revealed a secret life. Ashley and Mark were in love. They'd been planning to run away together for weeks. They had $200 saved. They had bus tickets to San Francisco for November 2nd. But there was more. In the final entries, Ashley's handwriting became frantic. She'd discovered something about Mark's father, Richard Thompson, something dangerous. Richard Thompson wasn't just a respected businessman. He was involved in something illegal. Ashley had stumbled upon it at Mark's house. She'd taken photographs, evidence, and she was terrified. The last entry was dated October 30th, 1985. "Tomorrow night, everything changes. Mark says we have to move up our plans. His father is getting suspicious. I'm scared, but Mark promised he'd protect me. We'll run away right from the party. I'm taking the evidence with me. Once we're safe, I'll mail it to the FBI." Emily felt like she'd been punched in the stomach. She had to confront Mark. Emily found Mark in the parking lot behind the old cinema in late November. When he saw Emily approaching, something in his face broke. Before Emily could say a word, Mark collapsed against his car and started sobbing. "I was a coward," Mark choked out. "God help me, I was such a coward." The truth spilled out. Ashley had tried to run away with him that night. They were supposed to meet in the wine cellar at 11:45, slip out the back door, and disappear. But Mark's father had discovered their plan. Richard Thompson had shown up at the party, pulled Mark aside, and told him exactly what would happen if Mark left with Ashley. Then Richard had gone to find Ashley himself. He threatened her, Mark said, his voice hollow. He told her if she didn't give him the photographs, if she didn't forget everything she'd seen, he'd make sure no one ever found her. And I just stood there. I let him take her. I watched him walk her out to his car, and I didn't do anything. Emily felt the world tilt. Take her where? Mark's eyes met hers. I think she might still be alive. Richard Thompson owned an old factory 2 towns over. Mark had been too afraid to check, too afraid of his father. But now they had to go. They couldn't tell the police. Richard had connections. They drove in silence through the December cold. The factory looked like something from a nightmare. Inside, the factory was a maze of corridors and empty rooms. Their flashlights cut weak paths through the darkness. Emily's heart pounded. Every shadow could be Ashley. They found the room on the 3rd floor. The door had a padlock that had been broken from the inside. Emily's flashlight beam swept across the space. A sleeping bag, empty water bottles, discarded food wrappers, and clothes. Among the clothes was a torn red cape. Emily's scream echoed through the empty factory. Ashley wasn't there, but the evidence that she'd been here, that she'd been alive, was overwhelming. Emily found scratches on the walls, counting marks, 43 days. Then Mark found the journal, a small notebook filled with Ashley's handwriting. The most recent entry was from 3 days ago. I finally figured out how to break the lock. Tonight, I'm getting out of here. I can't go home, not while he has power in Millbrook. But I'll survive. She'd escaped. 3 days ago, Ashley had freed herself. Emily and Mark raced to the nearest bus station. The ticket clerk perked up when Emily showed her Ashley's photograph. Yeah, I remember her. Skinny kid, looked scared but determined. Bought a ticket to San Francisco 3 days ago. Used the name Sarah Miller. She asked me where the nearest library was. Said she needed to leave something there for someone to find. Kept talking about a treehouse. Emily understood. When they were children, Emily and Ashley had a secret code. Treehouse meant the old willow tree in the park where they'd built a childhood fort. They drove to the park as dawn was breaking. Emily climbed the ancient willow tree. There, wedged into the hollow where they'd once hidden treasures, was a sealed envelope with Emily's name on it. Ashley's letter was 6 pages long. She explained everything. How Richard Thompson had caught her, kept her locked up, threatened to kill their entire family if she ever told anyone what she knew. He'd been smuggling drugs through his legitimate businesses for years. Ashley had photographed documents, shipping manifests, everything. I escaped, but I can't come home, not yet. He'll be looking for me. I saw you and Mark searching for me. I was hiding across the street from the factory. I wanted to run to you so badly it physically hurt. But I can't. Not until he stopped. I'm sending copies of all the evidence to the FBI. I'm going to California. I'm going to start over. I'm 15 years old and I'm going to survive. When it's safe, I'll find a way to let you know I'm okay. Mark read over Emily's shoulder, tears streaming down his face. I'll turn him in. I'll tell the FBI everything. I'll testify. And he did. The investigation that followed exposed Richard Thompson's entire operation. He was arrested, tried, and convicted. Mark was charged as an accessory for not reporting his father's crimes and for lying to police. He served 18 months in a juvenile facility. Emily returned to the present, standing in her kitchen surrounded by broken glass and blood. The letter that had arrived that morning continued. It's been 39 years. Richard Thompson died in prison last year. I've been waiting, making sure all his associates were gone too. I'm coming home. I have a family now, a husband, 2 kids. But I need them to know the truth. I need you to know that every day I was gone, I thought about you. Meet me at the old willow tree on November 1st at noon. Your sister, Ashley. November 1st was tomorrow, 40 years to the day after Ashley disappeared. Emily looked at the Polaroid from 1990. It showed Emily and Mark standing on a beach, and between them, smiling tentatively, was Ashley. Older, harder, but alive. That had been their first reunion, secret and brief. Over the years, there had been other meetings, always in different cities, always secret. Their parents had died believing Ashley was gone. Now, finally, Ashley was ready to come home completely, to reclaim her identity, to stop running. Mark had rebuilt his life too. He'd become a counselor for at-risk youth, dedicating his life to helping kids in dangerous situations find ways out. Some disappearances aren't what they seem. Sometimes they're about choosing survival over everything else. Ashley had been taken, but she'd also chosen to stay gone, to protect the people she loved, and she'd survived. Tomorrow, Emily would go to that willow tree. Tomorrow she'd hug her sister without looking over her shoulder. Tomorrow, the girl who disappeared at the Halloween party in 1985 would finally come home. If this story moved you, please subscribe and share it. Drop a comment telling us what you would do if someone you loved vanished. Would you ever stop searching? We read every comment, and your stories matter to us. Thank you for watching.